Hello everyone. It has been a long time since I made a video, so I'm making one today to update my family and friends about my health, and primarily talking about the medicinal herbs that I use to help with some health problems. Now, not long ago, I found out I have pinched nerves in my neck, and I had a terrible experience with pain and muscle spasms and all kinds of things. So, I started trying to find something I can use to help naturally, and I did find some things that work extremely well. And I have been using herbal medicine for several years, and trying to find out things that I can use naturally. And if you know my history, you know that I had kidney failure from pharmaceutical drugs for just arthritis and acid reflux. And so I've been on a kick to get off of pharmaceutical drugs altogether, and a lot of processed foods and things like that to be healthier. And I wish I would have started a long time ago. I wish when I was young that I would have known that junk food and all those sodas and all the processed foods that we eat that the government said was safe for us, that they weren't really safe, that we really need good, healthy food. But I do the best I can. I do eat really healthy. But I want to talk to you about the herbal medicine I use. And the first one I will discuss is the one that I found that works for muscle spasms, pain, and basically it's kind of like a muscle relaxer. And I had known about this herb for sleeping and relaxing, but I never really applied it to muscle spasms or nerve pain until I posted about my cervical spinal stenosis, and someone in my friends said that they had it, and that Dewey Dixon's chiropractor office sold Valerian root extract to use as a natural muscle relaxer. So I did get some, wrong bottle, and that is this right here. I didn't get it from Dewey. I got it from Amazon, and I really did a lot of research on this company. And it is a small company, and they're third-party tested. It's very safe products that you can use, safe herbs, no chemicals and stuff like that. And I ordered this. And the company is, and I can't see very well, I'll tell you about that in a minute. The company is Herb Pharm, and I will provide a link in the description box below where you can get it on Amazon, and it is also available on their website. Valerian root extract was a miracle worker for my muscle spasms and for sleep. Actually, until I started taking this to sleep, I took magnesium malate and melatonin. And melatonin is really not very good for you, but I desperately needed sleep. So that's what I took, and I take nothing but valerian root extract now. So I've grown valerian before, and I plan on when I can get some more of my garden beds going this fall, I hope to have some more herbs planted. I'm going to grow enough valerian that I have it available at all times. And so I have right here is my own bottle of valerian root extract started. Now I'm going to show you how to do that in just a minute. But what I did is I bought some bulk herbs of dried valerian root to use and go ahead and have on hand until I can get my own herbs growing. And so I don't have to keep buying this every month. It's a lot cheaper to make your own quart. So that's what I'm doing there. Another herb that I'm using and that I've had experience with, and I also got it from the same company, is an herb called hawthorn. I found out about hawthorn a couple of years ago. I'm always trying to get Megan and anybody I can think of to try herbal medicines instead of taking pharmaceutical drugs. And so she has a condition with her heart, and she has a lot of PVCs and some other kind of PCs and all that stuff. But it got to the point, it's usually manageable, but it got to the point where she knew she was going to have to go on heart medication if she couldn't find a way to keep it manageable. So she called me one day and she said, "All right, Mom, you have to find me something right now, or I'm going to call the doctor and get on the heart medication." I said, "Okay, just give me a few minutes." And so I did some research, and I found that hawthorn is one of the best herbs in the world for heart rhythms. And so I did a lot of research on it, and I called her and I told her, and she, I believe I could have this story kind of wrong, but that's okay. She went to the Golden Carrot here in Paducah and got some hawthorn, and we can also order it on Amazon. And it took care of her irregular heartbeat. And it's safe. And so I also found out that it's good for blood pressure. So the only medication that I am on, and I used to be on 8 medications, and when I finally did some research, I found out that 4 of them I was taking because they were taking care of side effects from the other 4. So that's the day I decided, nope, I'm done. I'm done. So I contacted my doctor, and I told her I want to get off of all these medications. And she told me that I could get off of all of them but one. And she told me how to do it. She said, just take one every other day for 2 weeks. She said, all of your medications, except that one, are for symptoms. And so she said, if you want off of them, this is how to do it. Take one every other day for 2 weeks and then stop. And so, and it was like for, I don't know, but it was something that it was safe for me to stop taking. But then I would have to deal with the symptoms, or the physical symptoms I was dealing with, if I didn't find something else better. So anyway, I have never had high blood pressure until my kidneys failed. And now that my kidneys are not at full effect, I struggle with high blood pressure. And I need to keep it pretty low in order so it doesn't damage my kidneys. So it pretty well stayed tolerable. I mean, acceptable levels, like 130 or under, until I had the pain in my neck, and then my blood pressure started going really high. So I've been taking it since then. So it's probably been about, I guess, 2 months that I've been taking it every day. And the other day I was praying and I said, Lord, I am so exhausted. Like, my fatigue has been so bad, I can barely function. I just feel absolutely useless. The fatigue is so crippling. And just out of nowhere, I just said, check the side effects of your blood pressure medicine. And I did. I checked the side effects. And then I went to Google and I searched customer reviews for amlodipine. And I read person after person after person who had the same problem I did. Complete loss of energy. And so I thought, okay, I'm getting off of it. But I know I have to be very careful because I can't let my blood pressure go high. So I've been doing some things. I've been taking some hawthorn supplements, the capsule, I would take 2 in the morning and take half of a blood pressure at night. And I'm constantly monitoring my blood pressure throughout the day, 3 or 4 times a day. And it was staying fairly stable around 140/70, but it needed to be lower than that. And then in the meantime, I ordered some hawthorn tincture, and the tincture is stronger than supplements. And so last night I checked my blood pressure before I went to bed, and it was 130/70. And I thought, I am going to skip the half of a blood pressure pill tonight, and I'm going to take the hawthorn, a dropper full of the hawthorn tincture. And I got up this morning, and my blood pressure was 117/70. And I cannot remember the last time that it was that low. So I'm still checking it all throughout the day. It did go up a little bit higher during the day. So I'm just trying to figure out how I can keep it maintained and maybe take a dropper full in the morning and a dropper full at night. So I'm not telling any of you to stop taking your blood pressure medicine. I'm trying to show you what I do to work it out where I can get off of pharmaceutical drugs. And so I'm not just going to stop taking it cold turkey. I'm not going to let my blood pressure get high. So I'm just testing it frequently, monitoring it, and making sure that I keep it at a certain level and see what works. Another thing that you have to do when you take herbal medicines is to make sure that you check for contraindications for that drug. And that means you need to make sure, or for that herb, that herb does not counteract or not counteract against your pharmaceutical drugs you're taking. Now, here's what I have discovered. Let's say, for example, and this is the herb I'm going to show you how to make into a tincture. Hibiscus. Hibiscus is well known for helping with your blood pressure. So when I look for contraindications, usually I go to Dr. Axe, and I go to draxe.com, and in Google I put Dr. Axe hibiscus, and then he'll have a full page on all the things that hibiscus helps with, and then he has any warnings at the bottom or any contraindications with medicine. So for hibiscus, it says to be careful taking hibiscus if you are on blood pressure medication, because it can drop your blood pressure too low. So you know what that tells me? It will drop your blood pressure just like your medicine does. So which one do you want to take? A flower, or do you want to take a pharmaceutical drug? So it's just a balancing act on finding what works for you. Not every herb works for every person. Sometimes the herb just doesn't work for you and you can take another one. Or sometimes you try an herb and it doesn't work because you're not taking the right dosage. So I am making a tincture from hibiscus, and I bought the hibiscus from a company on Amazon, and one of my favorite companies is called Frontier, and they are third-party tested and safe herbs. And it comes in, like, I buy a pound at a time. Like, here's my bag of chamomile. Their chamomile smells amazing. And actually, I use Frontier and Star West are my favorite ones. So I'm going to show you how to make a tincture, and I'm going to do a small one because I don't have a lot of hibiscus, and I don't want to give it up because I also use it for teas. Ellie loves the hibiscus tea. So what you do is you fill the jar about halfway full. I didn't get a very good scoop. It won't fit in here. Let me just use my hand and I'll show you just a minute. Let me get it. Now, some herbs, you want to fill it more than halfway full. I mean, less than halfway, because the herbs will soak up the liquid and you'll have too much herb and not enough liquid. So I'm going to do this about halfway. This is a very old jar, one of my favorites. And then I'm going to take 80 proof vodka. And I get this at CVS. It's like $11 and something for this great big one. It has to be 80 proof. I actually got some for $10 for less than 11 because they had a sale. So I'm going to pour that in, and you have to make sure that all of the herb is covered up. You don't want too much alcohol, because then if you do that, you're going to weaken it. It's going to be too weak. I'm going to stir it up. And it's best not to use metal. This is foam on the end. And I can probably put some more in there because I want it full. But some of the herbs, if they are shredded and sifted roots, they will soak up the moisture like crazy. So some of these, I fill it halfway, and then it just soaks up all the moisture and goes all the way to the top. So I may be getting carried away here. So, okay, I've got that much herb in there now. Let me add some more. Okay, let me put the lid on here before I knock it over and spill it. So now we've got a jar full. You stir it up real good. And just make sure the liquid comes right up above the herbs. You don't want too much liquid. And then put a lid on it. Seal it tightly. And then we're going to put a label on it, because we want to put it in a dark, cool place. And I don't mean real cold. I mean, just don't set it in the window. Don't let sunlight shine on it. And we're going to put a label on there. And we're going to put what it is. And here we go. And I'm going to put hibiscus. And then I'm going to put today's date. 7/18, I think it is, 26. Okay, we want to know the day that we started the tincture. And we're going to shake it real good. And what you're going to do is you are going to, wait a minute, I think I have a little too much fluid. You're going to shake this once a day, at least the first week. And then after that, you can shake it once or twice a day. Once every couple of days, every 2 or 3 days. Don't be alarmed if you forget to shake it for a day or two. It'll still be fine. And it needs to sit at least 4 to 6 weeks. I like to, if I don't need it immediately, I like to let it set for 2 months. And then you just need to strain it out. And then store it in a dark bottle where the sun won't get to it. And if you do a lot, you do a bottle like this. I'll tell you about this one in just a minute. And then put it in a dark bottle. Like, here's a small one right here. Here's another little small one. And then you use it as medicine. So let me show you a couple of the things that I use on a regular basis. One of them is this big one that I showed you. And I ran out recently and almost panicked. And let me tell you why. This is what I call my antibiotic. And I have been using this, oh gosh, I don't know how many years. It is equal parts of rosemary, oregano, and thyme. Rosemary, all of those are powerful medicinal herbs. And you end up with a formula that is antibiotic, antiviral, antibacterial. So It will work for viruses. People say, oh, there's nothing you can do about a virus. These herbs work against viruses. Most antibiotics don't, but these herbs do. So this is made of, like I said, equal parts of rosemary, thyme, and oregano. And what I use this for example, I have on and off all throughout my adult life had UTIs. And you know when a urinary tract infection is coming on. So used to, I would have to go to the doctor and get an antibiotic. First, I would try drinking cranberry juice for a day or two, and usually that didn't work, and then I'd have to end up calling the doctor and getting on an antibiotic again. So what I do now is whenever I feel a UTI coming on, I take my antibiotic tincture, and the very first day, especially if I'm feeling any pain at all, the very first day, every hour and a half, sometimes every 2 hours, I take a teaspoon of this all day long the first day. Usually I try every hour at first, but usually it's every hour and a half, but even if it's just every 2 hours while I'm awake the first day. The second day, I do it like every 3 hours. The third, fourth, and fifth day, I do it 3 times a day. Gone. It is gone. I do the same thing when I feel like a cold or if there's a virus going around and I feel like I'm getting it. I pull out this antibiotic tincture and I take it every hour and a half the first day, every 2 or 3 hours the second day, and 3 times a day for a couple of days after that. And I don't get sick. This has been working for me for years. Another thing that it works for is an experience that I can vouch for is my sister. She was at my house and I sent her home a little bottle of this, and she had a fever sore on her mouth. She had gotten medicine from the doctor. Nothing she could do would get rid of it. And she used this and put it on there a couple times a day, and in a couple days it was gone, completely gone. So this stuff works. And I have such a big bottle, I actually have enough. I'm going to have a second bottle because I want to be able to share it. Anybody who wants to try it, I will share it. And you guys, these last indefinitely. This one, gosh, I don't know how long I've had this. This is what I call sleepy time. It is chamomile and lemon balm. I also make, well, let me see if there's any other tincture I want to show you about. I also put some of the tinctures in leftover syrup bottles. I save those and clean them out. This is an olive oil bottle that I saved because it's dark. These I make sure they're in the back of the cabinet because they're not dark, so I don't want any light getting on them. I also, of course, I grow as much as I can to help. Let me tell you about another extremely effective herb, and that is mullein. Mullein looks like, I don't know if I can show you. It is a big plant. It's got big leaves about this big, and they're real soft and fuzzy. And then it's a biennial. So the first year it just gets these big velvety leaves. It grows on the side of the road or all kinds of places. You don't want to pick it off the side of the road because it can have dirt and bacteria from the road. And then the second year it gets this tall column that grows straight up, real tall, like, 6-7 foot tall, and then has little yellow flowers at the top. That is an herb that the Native American Indians have used for hundreds and hundreds of years. It is very good for lungs and bronchitis. Now, it also, you have to be careful. and strain it well, like if you use it for a tea, because it's got like little bitty hairy sticky things that kind of irritate your throat. So you just need to strain it good, like through a cloth. But this is all mullein that I've grown out in the yard. I dry it, and I have a dehydrator, but one of my favorite ways to dry is to put in a paper bag. Like I have a little herb garden out there now, and I go out and I just clip off some of the plants, stick them in a paper bag. I cut a little diagonal hole in there, and within a week or two it's dry enough to use. And so, like I said, this lemon balm I'm saving for tea. The only thing is, whenever you save dried herbs, after a year or two they're no longer effective. So for some reason my computer stopped recording. So if I haven't used it within a year, then I turn it into a tincture so it'll last forever. But let me tell you what, let's see, that's the hawthorn. Let me tell you what mullein has done. And this poor Megan, I'm using her as an example again. She had really bad bronchitis last winter, like going into pneumonia. She was on a nebulizer and like breathing treatments and all kinds of stuff. And she was really struggling to breathe. And so I finally talked her into trying the mullein and to smoke it in a pipe. I had a pipe that Uncle David gave me because he's a pipe smoker, and I chopped it up real fine and asked her to please try it. And surprisingly, she did, and something miraculous happened. She said after she took that first hit off of that pipe, within 60 seconds, she took the first good breath she had had in weeks. It immediately helped her, immediately. And then as a couple days went on, as she kept smoking it several times a day, she started coughing up all of that stuff that was in her lungs. This stuff works. It works. Now you can buy mullein, of course, from the Frontier and Star West, and any other company, or you can dry it yourself and use it. Now, if you dry it yourself and use it, what I would recommend is just like put the whole herb leaf in there, or just break it up to where it'll fit, and you can kind of squish it down. But don't break it up real small, because it will be much more effective if you crumble it up right before you use it, and then pack it down in your little pipe real tight, and you'll be able to keep lighting it, and it'll work. You can also roll it and roll your own cigarette out of it. This stuff works. So I also have mullein tinctured. So what I'm working on, I probably have about 20 different tinctures right now, and I'm in the process of preparing about 20 more, and then I'm going to create formulas out of them. Like one of them is going to be called Winter Workhorse. It's going to be something that will help a cough. It'll help break up the stuff in here. It'll help with congestion and all those things. So there's just so many things that you can learn that these things do, and the Bible tells us that the leaf was for medicine of the plants. I believe God made a plant for everything that we need to maintain our health. So I'm also going to include links below of a couple of herbalists that I follow on YouTube that are trained herbalists, trained and certified herbalists, and they're also Christians, and they talk about how that God made these for us to use. So I'm trying to think if there's anything else I didn't tell you. I do keep my herbs, I do put some of them in plastic. You do need to have your tinctures in glass, because you don't want that alcohol pulling out properties from plastic for you to consume. So I do keep all of my tinctures in glass, but I use just big plastic jars. I reuse like the big jars you get full of nuts. I reuse those. And there was something else. This is comfrey. Oh, one other thing. This is going to be a really long video. I also make salves where you pull the properties of the herbs into oil. Now, when you make tinctures, the alcohol is called a solvent. Whatever you use, whatever liquid you use to pull the properties of the plant into that liquid so you can use the liquid for medicine. Well, if you don't want alcohol, you can pull the properties into apple cider vinegar. You can also pull them into vegetable glycerin, and it tastes kind of sweet, and that's good for children. But the tinctures don't last as long. You need to use them within a year or so. But you can use other mediums to pull it into there. And one of the things you can use is oil. Now, when I do oils, when I do an infused oil, I use like half olive oil, or you can use, there's all kinds of oils you can use. It doesn't matter. But I use half or 2/3 olive oil, and then the rest I use castor oil. And castor oil is a lot thicker, but castor oil has the ability to reach deeper down into your skin and into your body than any other oil on the planet. And castor oil itself has amazing properties. So I always try to use, I think that's dirty, use part castor oil. So this is comfrey mixed with some essential oils. And this was for pain. This was what I used for my arm. When I injured my neck, I also felt something happen in my arm. I was lifting a lot of heavy mulch bags, which I should not do anymore. But I had a huge hot knot on my arm, and I really believe somehow I damaged something in my arm. And so what I did, you should not take comfrey internally. I ran up to the garden, and I grabbed some comfrey leaves. I grow it. And I grabbed some fresh comfrey leaves, and I chopped it up real small, and I mixed it with a little flour and water to kind of make a poultice, and I attached it to my arm, put that poultice on my arm, and wrapped it and kept it on my arm 8 hours a day, 4 days in a row, and that knot went down. And then all through the crisis with my neck and the pain, I slathered my arm and my neck and my shoulders with a comfrey salve. This is the actual salve. This is the second time this tin has been filled up, and it's almost empty here, so it's time to make some more. So what you do the same thing as you do with a tincture. You place your herbs in a jar, and you cover it with oil, and you put it somewhere, and you let it set for 4 to 6 weeks. Now, if you need it in a hurry, there is a crock pot hack that you can use. And you have to be real careful, because you don't want the oil to get too hot, or you will destroy the properties, the medicinal properties of the plant. So if you put water in your crock pot, make sure the water doesn't come up any higher than there. Because you don't want water mixing with your oil, or you can get bacteria in it. No water in the oil. So what you do is you just fill your jar full. When you're using fresh plants, you can fill it up to like 3/4 full. Put 3/4 full of your plant, chopped up real fine. Then you fill it up with oil to where it covers the plant. And then you put it in your crock pot. But you put like a washcloth folded up, or a hand towel folded up on the bottom, so it doesn't get as hot. And so this glass jar is not touching the bottom, and it keeps it from getting too hot. And so you put it in the crock pot, fill the water up to there, and put it on warm, the lowest setting you've got. And I usually let it set about 12 hours. And then that should infuse the medicinal properties into your oil. You strain it out, and now I have oil to make a salve. And so I have a recipe, and I actually have these instructions written out step by step. This is beeswax, and it's little bitty granules. And you put a certain amount, like a tablespoonful, so in a double boiler. You melt that, and then after it cools down, you don't want it cool enough that it hardens, but you want it cool enough that it won't destroy the medicinal properties. Then you pour in some of your infused oil, because the medicine's already in the oil, and then you add some essential oils if that's what you want. So, and then you blend it all together, and then you pour it into these little tins. And this tin has some pepper in it, red hot pepper, because that helps with pain. So let me give you one more example of something that works. I had a friend who had been in the hospital and had some bed sores, and the medicine they gave her, everything they did, it would not work. And they sent her home, I think, with another tube of medicine to try, and they could not get rid of the bed sores. And so she asked me if I had anything. So I did some research. I came up with a formula, and I made her a salve, and I sent it to her, and it got rid of her bed sores. So these things work. So, and it's pretty exciting whenever you figure out that something that God gave us that grows in the ground can help with the health problems that we have, things that come up. And so it's a very long video, but I have a lot of information to share. So if you have any questions at all, please let me know. If you want to try a sample of my antibiotic tincture, or if you have an ailment that you're wondering what you can use, I can give you some suggestions, but we need to check and see what medicines you're on and make sure that it doesn't counteract any medicine or make your medicine too strong, or make it not strong enough or whatever. So a lot of herbalists will tell you to always check with your doctor, and that is good advice. But I'm going to warn you that most doctors are not the least bit interested in anything other than pharmaceutical drugs. They will not tolerate any discussion of herbal medicine. And there is a whole story behind all of that, why our medical system is so against herbal drugs. And it's not because they don't work, it's because they're not profitable. So anyway, I'm going to work to get all of the information in the description below, and let me know if you have any questions. And remember, I am not a doctor. This is not, I'm not giving you anything that I'm telling you will work for you, and I'm not telling you to quit taking your medicine. I'm just telling you what I have used that works for me, and that I believe that there are things out there that will help you. Sometimes you just have to experiment and try the right thing, but that's all. Let me know if you have any questions, and thank you for listening.